It's finally here, the Logitech G Pro X Superlight. I've been using this mouse, playing with it for over a week now, and this is my final thoughts. Is it worth it upgrading from your standard G Pro wireless? Let's find out. Since around the last quarter of 2018, Logitech released the G Pro wireless, and to this day, it's still one of, if not the best wireless gaming mouses on the market that's aimed for pros. Now, a lot of Overwatch, CSGO, and Valorant pros seem to favor the G Pro wireless. After all, there hasn't really been any new mices from Logitech in that lightweight wireless mouse category, except for like different color refreshes until November 18th, 2020. Today is the day that Logitech finally decided to announce the new Logitech G Pro X Superlight. So you might be asking, how good is this mouse? Does it live up to the hype? Is it worth the upgrade? And before we answer those questions, I'm sure you guys want to know what comes inside the box, right? So the unboxing experience. It was identical to previous G Pro wireless unboxings. We get the mouse front and center along with some paperwork, the wireless receiver and the dongle, a micro USB charging cable. Yes, we're still using a micro USB charging cable in 2020. We also get a couple surprises inside the box though. First of which is a thin rubberized mouse skin for the top and sides of the mouse, and a replacement puck that has its own glides on it for more smoothness. By the way, those grips are actually really good. It's actually really good quality. Okay, so the G Pro X Superlight actually isn't that much different from the predecessor. We still have that unique egg-shaped design that some people call it. Dimensions are also the same, both with the G Pro Wireless and the G Pro X Superlight. They come in at a height of 125 millimeters, a width of 63.5 millimeters, and the same depth, which is 40 millimeters. Now, what really changed in terms of how it feels in the hand is, to me, the weight. Obviously, the G Pro X Superlight is now less than 63 grams, which is 25% lighter than the standard G Pro Wireless. Now, my unit was actually 61 grams compared to my G Pro, which comes in at 80 grams when I placed it on my scale. The mouse buttons 1 and 2 have been performing well with Logitech's new click tensioning system and updated switches. Now, I know there's going to be tons of questions about the switches, so I reached out to Logitech personally and I asked them about the switches. I was like, hey, have the switches been changed? Like, is there any issues? What's going on here? And they told me that as for the switches, we've made some changes with regards to the switch technology earlier this year, and those changes are reflected on the new Superlight model. So, I mean, they didn't really tell me if they had new switches or anything, but they're saying that they made some update to the switches. So I'm assuming that update was for this mouse right here, which is the OP edition. I'm assuming that they're using the same switches as the OP or the Shroud one that's being used in this one right here. But don't quote me on that because Logitech didn't tell us like if they changed the switches or not. They just said that they did some updates to the switches. But personally, I've been using this thing for the past week and I've had no issues with double clicking, so hopefully that has been fixed. Now, the side buttons are also very tactile and responsive. They feel the same to me, and yes, they're the same size as the G Pro Wireless. What's changed though is that we no longer have the option to add side buttons at the right side of the mouse. So we can't remove the side buttons anymore with the magnets or nothing like that. To me, the scroll wheel feels the same. I scrolled my standard G Pro Wireless scroll wheel and then I scrolled the Superlight scroll wheel, and it literally felt like almost the same scroll wheel. But just for proof, here's a quick sound test of the buttons and also the scroll wheels. Flipping the mouse around is where we could find some major changes with the mouse feet. We now have 0 additive PTFE mouse feet, and it also covers a larger surface area, which just feels way smoother compared to the standard G Pro X feet layout. The Superlight felt like I was gliding on butter, and if you really want to glide, remember we could swap out the power play puck for the glide puck. So yeah, the smoothness is real. They removed the DPI button, and also there's no real RGB on the mouse, which I think was done to reduce the weight, of course. The removal of the DPI button isn't a big deal for me personally, since I usually just set my DPI in the software and just leave it. I never ever touch the DPI settings ever again. But yeah, just so you guys know that there's no DPI button. But we still have the on and off switch, of course, at the bottom, followed by the PowerPlay magnets for wireless charging with compatible PowerPlay mouse pads. We still have the same 25K Hero sensor found in the standard G Pro, and tons of DPI settings to choose from within the Logitech G Hub software. Now, when the standard G Pro released, it had a max range DPI of 16,000, but with software updates, it went up to 25,000. It's insane how the sensor can go all the way up to 25,600 DPI. I'm not sure who plays at such high DPI, but for me, I'm an 800 DPI kind of guy. Let me know down below in the comments what DPI you guys play on. I'm super curious. I'm actually like really concerned to see who plays above 800 DPI. Now, in regards to DPI, the G Hub software has color coordinated DPI settings. So there's a tiny RGB light on the mouse that represents what DPI setting you're on. Yellow shows my 400 DPI, white shows my 800, orange shows my 1600 DPI, and so on and so forth. You get the idea. You can also switch between the DPI colors if you want to, but it's not really a big deal, so don't focus too much on that. Now, the battery life is pretty good. We now get up to 70 hours of constant motion, which is 10 more hours up from the standard G Pro wireless. But unfortunately, we still have that micro USB charging port for charging. Now, as I said before, it's like the mouse is really good on consumption. So if the mouse is on and you're not using it for a while, it will turn off in order to save battery life. So this thing will really last a long time. Alright, so you guys just heard me blab about the mouse, about all the specs, the features and everything. How does it actually translate into real world usage? Let's find out. Man, I've been using this mouse playing Valorant, and the weight difference is evident. It feels like I'm holding clouds, like I'm moving clouds over my mouse pad. Coming from the standard G Pro wireless, the fit was identical. I know a lot of people think the egg-shaped design is uncomfortable, but this universal design to me is perfect. And I think that's why it's loved among so many pro players. Personally, I play a palm grip style. I don't have any issues here. I have relatively large hands, so my hands literally eats the mouse. I've never really played claw or tip grip, but I'm sure that if you play those type of grips, your play style will be fine here. Now, in terms of post travel, I haven't had any issues here, but let me know what you guys think down below in the comments in terms of like the mouse 1 and 2 wobbling. But for me personally, there's no issues here. So all in all, guys, Logitech basically made one of my favorite mouses a little bit lighter. So it's also in white and it looks stunning. But what's not that stunning is the price. The mouse comes in at $150. I know a lot of people are gonna find it super hard buying basically a 2021 product with a micro USB port instead of USB Type-C. It's a small issue for most people, but for me, I took it personal.
It became personal with me.
Now, but seriously, other than that, I love this mouse. If you're currently using the standard G Pro wireless and you're thinking about upgrading, you're gonna love this thing. I mean, if you're on a budget, it's probably not worth it because, as I said before, if you guys listen to me, the trade-offs, like, it's not really much of an upgrade in terms of features, but for the weight difference, it's really, really, really tempting. Also, another thing, the feeds have been updated. Normally with the standard G Pro, once you get that, people always buy new mouse feeds. The glides on this is insane. Plus, as I said before, you have that puck glide that you could switch out if you want to really skate with these bad boys. And the overall fit and finish, man, is just super nice. So if you're in the market for a new wireless gaming mouse, this is probably the head of the bunch right here. And actually, if you're wondering, the Superlight does not replace anything in the G Pro lineup. In fact, at $150, the Superlight is only $20 more expensive than the Pro Wireless at $130 US and the Pro Wired at $69. So this mouse is not meant to replace the G Pro. If you want a heavier mouse, go for this. If you want RGB, go for this. If you want to have the pristine featherweight champion in your hand for aim gods, I would definitely pick up the G Pro Wireless. And finally, in terms of availability, I think you could pre-order this thing now and it will start shipping on December 3rd. But let me know down below in the comments, what do you think? Is the price worth it, or are you just gonna stick with something like a Model O wireless? For me, the software, the overall ecosystem of Logitech is just really good. And that's one of the reasons I've stuck around Logitech for a long period of time. But yeah, as I said before, thoughts down below. As always, love, peace, and tweaks. I'm going back to my Valorant games.